Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 562XP chainsaw. We're going to put new crank seals in it. So we're going to go through all the steps involved in taking care of that. So let's follow along. First thing I'm going to do here is pop the starter off. Remove that black plastic shroud that Husqvarna calls an air conductor. And then remove the flywheel nut. Now I got to get the flywheel off of here, and I found an easy way to do it. It's just to put a little pressure behind it and smack that nut. I run the nut up flush with the end of the crankshaft. And I'm not using a big hammer here. Just give it a smack, and it usually breaks loose. Now I want to remove all the dirt that's in here because we are popping a seal out. We don't want any of that dirt to get into the crank bearing. This little plastic protector, it's on there pretty good. It takes a bit to remove it. I'm using these little pocket pry bars. They seem to be the right tool for the job here. And I'm just got underneath on one side, and then with the other tool I'm just working my way around that plastic washer, and there it goes. Clean the schmutz out of here again, and now I want to remove the old seal, and I'm using here it's a snap-on seal removal tool. It's kind of a flattened rounded paddle, and if I work my way in between the seal and the bearing hub and just kind of roll the tool a little bit, it'll pop the seal right out of there. And then we want to make sure we get all the parts of the seal. So there's that inner spring. I don't want to accidentally leave that in there. So here's our new seal. Here's your part number. And we're going to want to put some oil on this seal. So to get the lip of the seal over the crankshaft, Husqvarna has a special tapered tool that slides over the crank. And that'll allow us just to push the seal right on. And we'll do that with a special tool as well. So here's that tapered bushing. Get some oil on that seal. I'm just using 2-cycle oil. We'll push the seal over the bushing. And then we'll take the seal driver, make sure the end of it's clean. And we'll just tap the seal down in place. And with this tool, we just tap it down until it's flush with the crankcase. I mean, that's your seal installation right there. Now we have this washer that goes back on, and for whatever reason, Husqvarna's got a spec and special tools on how to put this back on. So there's our special seal or bushing or washer driver. We put that down first, and then we put the flywheel nut on top of it. Then we're going to grab our torque wrench and crank it down to 2 Newton meters. What I'm trying to do is, the clutch is still on the other side, and I'm trying to hold the clutch from turning, which actually is, even at only 2 Newton meters, it's harder than you think. You can't grab the drum because it'll just spin. So I'm just kind of trying to push a few fingers against the face of the clutch and keep it from turning. And I think if it was 3 Newton meters, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I'd have to come up with a way to lock the other end. I could put a piston stop in there, whatever you want to do. Now we'll buzz that nut off of there. Remove our driving tool. Drop our flywheel on. Now make sure, you know there's magnets on that flywheel, right? The flywheel's been sitting on the bench. It could have picked up anything, so inspect the magnets of the flywheel and the bottom side of the flywheel. Make sure nothing's stuck to it. Because there's nothing worse than doing a preventive maintenance type of repair and creating a bigger problem in the act of doing it. Now I already got the torque wrench on the bench, so we're going to torque down this flywheel nut. A lot of times I just hugga-dugga the thing on there. I want to say 22 or 24 Newton meters on this. And that little pry bar I'm using to hold the flywheel, I don't have it just jammed up against any old fin. I've got it against the block where the magnet would be, against a beefier part of the flywheel. Again, a piston stop or something else might be a better approach. If you're careful, this will work. So we got our air conductor and our starter back in place. That seal's done. We're going to put a seal on the clutch side, PTO side, whatever you want to call it. First we'll remove the clutch and the drum and the rim drive. Clean some more schmutz. You really want to make sure things are clean when you're doing this. Now because the oil pump's coming off, I'm going to drain the oil out of the tank. Then I won't have as big a mess to deal with. Alright, off comes the pinion gear or worm gear. Cleaning schmutz again. I probably didn't need to clean the face of that oil pump, but I did. 2 screws hold that pump in place. And you'll notice when you take those screws out that they have Loctite on them. Again, cleanliness is important. We don't want to get any dirt in that bearing. Alright, that looks good. We'll take our seal removal tool. We're just wedging it between the bearing hub and the seal, and then rolling it a little bit. Then it'll pop that seal right out of there. Quick inspection of the cage. Looks good. And then installing the seal on this side. It's the same as the other side. First our tapered tool goes in place. Then we'll lube the new seal. And then we'll drive it into place with the special tool. Now if you don't have the special tool, certainly there's other ways to get this seal pounded in here. But if you're taking this saw to a dealer to have this done, you kind of expect them to use the special tools and not an old beat up Pittsburgh socket or something like that, right? So now our seal is installed on the PTO side as well. We're going to put the oil pump back in, and when we put the screws in for this pump, we're going to put some thread sealer on them. those holes are tapped right into the crankcase. If one of those screws falls out, you have a direct air leak into the crankcase. So we're going to put some Loctite on there to keep them from backing out and to help seal the threads. We'll crank these down into place. And then I'm looking for my pinion gear. Oh, it's hiding under that bag there. There it is. We're going to put some grease on that pinion gear. I'm greasing the outer threads of it, and I'm also greasing the inner hub that slides over the crankshaft. Now, I'm going to clean out the hole where you can lube the bearing for the clutch. And pay no attention to me using that tool there. It's not important. The point is we're pumping grease through that cross-drilled hole to get any dirt out of it that might be accumulated in there. And we'll get fresh grease in there. So the next time someone hits it with a grease gun, you just get fresh grease. I just put that tool there because my finger didn't quite fit underneath the hole. We will use a special clutch tool to buzz the clutch back on. And then we'll bar it back up. Look at him go. Alright, we're going to put some bar oil back in this thing. And, we'll give it a test run. All we did to it was put crank seals in it. It should run perfect. And if it does, then that's all I'm going to have for you on the Husqvarna 562XP that got new crank seals. Thanks for watching. Later.